The king is dead. Long live the queen. I've been using my anime list to keep track of upcoming anime and anime I'm currently watching for well over 15 years now. I know there are other sites out there that are prettier, but since database migration isn't possible between the two, and I don't feel it's worth my time to manually enter 40 years of anime watch history into a new platform, I'll stick with my anime list. I do not read other people's reviews because I find most of them to be less insightful than 4chan, and about as useful as AI summaries on Google. For me, my anime list is a news source and a database to help me keep track of anime. Anyway, back on topic. In addition to letting me know about upcoming anime, my anime list allows users to rate a show on a scale of 1 to 10. This data is then collated and tracked. You can go check the results yourself and see the top-rated anime of all time. For the entire 15 or so years that I've been utilizing this site, there seems to be a cult of personality that is obsessed with keeping one anime at the top: Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Since the anime came out, a few contenders have challenged this king of anime, but never for long. The last I remember doing so was Season 3 of Kaguya-sama Love is War. But that one only lasted about a week before it was review bombed by the Full Metal fanboys. But at long last, the king is dead. Long live the king. Which brings me to the subject of today's video, the new best anime of all time, Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Also, and I know it's annoying to keep hearing this, but statistically if I don't ask you to like and subscribe, the video gets fewer subscribers. So, the question on everyone's mind is this: is Frieren worthy to supplant Full Metal Alchemist as the top anime of all time? Especially after losing Crunchyroll's Anime Awards for Best Anime of the Year. First of all, I bet it's been a few years since you've seen Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and I bet most of you haven't read it either. Let's start with a review of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood follows the lives of the Elric brothers, Alphonse and Edward, and their misadventures in learning the science of alchemy. As they learn more about alchemy in the kingdom, they uncover an insidious plot that has been going on since before the kingdom was founded. It is the anime equivalent of the JRPG meme. First quest, save a kitten. Last quest, kill God. Remember, part of the reason Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is so highly rated is because it skipped over a lot of the slow world building from the original anime. What took almost 20 episodes was sped up to 5. The whole Nina arc was summed up in a single episode instead of 3 or 4, which meant we could get to the new stuff quicker. That being said, I don't think Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood stands up on its own. You really need to have the original to help prop it up. And to be honest, I didn't care about it when it aired. Oh, they're remaking it? Don't care. And then I saw a clip on YouTube. This one, right here. Yeah, that's Mustang killing Lust. Unlike in the original series where the homunculi had to be killed near their corpses, these had Philosopher's Stones embedded in their bodies, which gave them powers and kept them alive even after their bodies were destroyed. But a Philosopher's Stone has finite power based on the number of souls used to create it. So when Mustang kills Lust over and over and over again, he eventually turns her stone to dust. Okay, now I have to watch the series, and boy am I glad that I did. The biggest change between the two anime is the homunculi change I mentioned earlier. In the first season, homunculi were an after effect of human transmutation. But in this one, they were brought to life by Father breaking off a piece of his soul. Father is a living Philosopher's Stone, and as such has an obscene amount of power. But that power is not limitless, as we see in the ending. Full Metal Alchemist has some of the best world building in anime and one of the best plots. We've got a nuanced story with secrets. Why did the nation of Xerxes disappear in a single night? Why does a Mistress commit so many atrocities? What is Father planning? As it turns out, Father was angry at how incomplete and imperfect he was. Despite being the strongest character in the series, he felt he lacked knowledge. This is known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. Many times you meet people and they might seem intelligent, but they're just at the peak of Mount Stupid. If they continue on their journey, they hit the Valley of Despair and then begin the long road up the slope of enlightenment to the plateau of sustainability. In other words, the more you know about something, the more you realize how much you don't know. Unfortunately for the people of Amestris, Father fell into the Valley of Despair and brought the whole nation with him. The climax of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is one of the best in anime. Father seems to win. On the promised day, he performs his alchemic ritual to steal all the souls in Amestris, then uses their power to open the gate to heaven and absorb God. But Hohenheim, along with Edward and Alphonse and various other alchemists, have spent the last 2 years creating a counter-circle that was activated by the shadow of the moon over Amestris. The Xerxian souls living within Hohenheim work to help free the Amestran souls, returning everyone to life. Now Father is losing control of God. He is still extremely powerful, and it takes the most powerful living alchemists as well as the sacrifice of Alphonse to take him down, but they eventually succeed. Father is defeated, Ed and Al get their bodies back, Ed marries Winry, everything comes to a satisfying conclusion. Okay, so we've discussed the story, but story is not the only part of an anime. It is an important part, but as a visual and auditory medium, we need more than just a story to satisfy our brains, especially if you're going to be the top-rated anime for over a decade. The biggest one, of course, being music. My personal favorite opening is the fourth one, Period by Chemistry, but I'm a sucker for a good guitar riff. However, Use Again is iconic, and many people consider it to be one of the best openings of all time. But an OP is just that. It is not the soundtrack. The soundtrack of this anime is simply top tier. Good fight music, good introspective music, but the main theme is both epic and chilling. It starts as a waltz, and you can imagine the characters dancing as the song plays. But then, something sinister lurks beneath. Something sad and empty, craving to be full, but never satisfied. Even with all the knowledge and power in the world, it just wants more. Music is incredibly important. It can set the tone and gives clues to events that are about to happen, but at its core, anime is a visual medium. Artwork is not the same as animation, but the two are related, and Full Metal Alchemist is incredible, both in terms of artwork and animation. The character designs are a bit simple, but this is a shonen manga, so that's to be expected. But the animation in this series is incredible, and I'm not just talking about the action sakuga, which is both awesome and easy to follow, but the soft scenes as well. Tell me you never cried at Hugh's funeral. It's not just the storytelling for that part, it's everything. The voice acting, the music, the setting. Terrible day for Rain. It is all of these aspects combined, world building, story, characters, plot, music, art, and animation all come together to create one of the greatest series of all time. Not just anime, but series. Do we really think that some silly anime about an elf, an anime that didn't even win Anime of the Year, could compare to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood? Actually, yes, it can. And in some cases, it even eclipses Brotherhood. First of all, Frieren is less annoying than Edward. Yes, I said it, go cry in a corner about it. Secondly, the music is just as good, if not better, than Full Metal Alchemist. I mean, not always, but Evan Call is phenomenal, and Zoltrak is some of the best battle music we've ever had. Which one is Zoltrak? This one. And it should come as no surprise that new anime can surpass older anime in quality. Like all crafts, experience begets quality. New techniques come about. You rely on the old techniques while giving birth to new ones through experimentation and practice. And Frieren has done that. It wouldn't be possible for Frieren to be as good as it is if it hadn't been able to stand on the shoulders of its predecessors. Let's compare some earlier scenes in each series and discuss their importance, as well as the big climactic battles in each series. Remember, both stories are more than just action scenes. They have plot, drama, and comedy. The first scene I want to discuss is the miracle at Rush Valley. That's right, we're going to talk about childbirth. Now, we are expecting this to be a depressing scene, especially with the music playing. After all, this is the depressing part of the main theme. Poor Ed and Al are forced to sit outside listening to screaming and wailing while they can do nothing. As a father, I feel for them. Childbirth is no joke. And poor Winry, who may be a genius when it comes to automail, has never been a midwife before, despite both her parents being doctors. So she has to do the birth based on vague memories of medical texts she read years ago. But in the end, a baby is born. Not through alchemy, not through science, but through the natural course. Compare that to the scene where Fern and Frieren search for blue moon weed flowers. Now, Frieren does use magic to track the seed rats in order to find where the flowers are, and she uses magic to fly up to find the flowers at the top of the tower. But it was just plain ingenuity that made Frieren decide to track the seed rat in the first place. While Frieren and Fern follow the seed rat, we're treated to a flashback of Frieren's time in the hero's party. Frieren casts a spell to summon a field of flowers, and Himmel makes a crown for her, while Eisen and Heiter run joyously through the fields. Then, as Frieren flies to the top of the tower, she remembers something else from that day. Himmel told Frieren about his favorite flower, the blue moon weed flowers, and how he wished for her to see them one day. And as the music surges, we see a beautiful bed of flowers atop an abandoned tower. Frieren is happy, and even Fern seems pleased. Maybe. Now, what do these two scenes have in common? A child being born reminds Ed that alchemy isn't everything, and no matter how advanced that science has become, a man and a woman can create life, while no alchemist has been able to replicate it. It reminds Ed that the world is large and he has much to learn. Meanwhile, Fern was against staying around and looking for some stupid flower. She felt it was a waste of time. And if anyone knows anything about wasting time, it is Frieren. But she is trying to do better, and Fern is learning that sometimes magic won't solve her problems. Sometimes you just need patience and a little luck. The scene also illustrates how much Frieren has grown in the 80 or so years since she was last at this village, with Himmel and the rest of the party. At the same time, we also have Winry growing and deciding she needs to change. Right after the baby is born, Winry confesses to Ed that she opened his watch and looked at the date. She told him that she wants to keep up with him and help him with his goal. She'll become the best automail mechanic in the world, so he always has the best equipment and can continue to work towards his own goal. So both of these scenes are about learning and growth from a multitude of angles. But the big scenes I want to discuss are the climactic finales. Though both Frieren and Fullmetal have great action scenes, the final battles, Everyone vs. Father, and Frieren fighting her clone alongside Fern, are both top tier. Hohenheim had spent years setting up a counter-circle to Father's sacrifice circle, counting on the timing of the eclipse to help create a circle overlaying Father's alchemy. This would return the souls of all the dead Amestrians to their bodies, basically bringing everyone back to life. This would also steal a ton of power from Father, making it so he didn't have enough souls to control God. He was still incredibly powerful, able to throw up a shield to block any incoming attacks from the assembled alchemists. But then he dodged. This showed that his power was not infinite, and he could be beaten. The ongoing theme of Fullmetal Alchemist is the idea of equivalent exchange. You can't make something from nothing. You can change a thing, but not create a thing using alchemy. A big part of the series is Edward learning to let go of the things he cannot change and just enjoy life as it comes to him. Something that Father never learns. Even as truth consumes the dwarf in the flask at the end, he is still unable to learn from his mistakes. This fight against oneself is obviously mirrored in Frieren. It is clear she's fighting against herself, but this fight symbolically represents the entire series. The whole of the anime is about Frieren fighting against her own nature. Frieren would rather hole up in the woods with a stack of books than go into town and have a conversation. She'd rather sleep in than do literally anything else. In other words, she developed a lot of bad habits while living alone for 1,000 years. And after her journey with the hero, she slipped back into most of them. But this fight represents her overcoming that, and becoming the person she was always meant to be. A person worthy of Himmel. Okay, it's time to address the elephant in the room. I know that people were hyped because Solo Leveling 2 had just aired, but that wasn't the series that was supposed to be in contention with Frieren. Solo Leveling Season 1 was supposed to be the competition, but some people only care about aura farming and not plot, animation, story, character, music, character growth, or conflict. Or they conflate it with fight scenes. But Danon Solo Leveling had the coolest fight scenes ever. Did it though? Okay, let's watch one fight scene from Solo Leveling Season 1. We'll even watch the best one. The one between Jinwoo and the knight who would become Igris. Sure, the fight is pretty, and it shows just how far Jinwoo has come, but also how far he still has to go. But there was no tension. No build-up. Jinwoo gets a key, goes into a dungeon, fights the knight, then fights a bunch of other knights, wins, and gets his new class. In the long term, the fight doesn't matter that much. Well, it does, but only to those of us who have read the source material. The fight happens between episodes 11 and 12 of the first season. Let's check in with Frieren and see what was going on around that same time. In fact, we didn't even have to go that far. Watch Fern casually dodging or counterspelling the blood magic from Lugner. He's throwing everything he has at her, but she remains completely calm. You can tell from his stance, his facial expressions, and even his movements that he is freaking out about not being able to land a hit on Fern. But Fern just casually destroys him. When he casts a blistering series of attacks at her, she blocks all of them at the same time, then sends a massive counterattack back at him. And it's all Lugner can do to parry the Eldritch Blast. As the fight continues, Lugner starts to freak out. Yes, Fern is faster than him, but his mana is far superior to hers. He'll just win in a war of attrition. All he has to do is wait for her to run out of mana. Except, she's not running out. She keeps sending more and more spells his way. Until finally, Lugner realizes the truth. Only it's too late. He's already dead. So on the one hand, we have Jinwoo in a fight where he barely wins compared to Fern absolutely demolishing her opponent. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for the underdog winning a fight. In fact, Pixar's #1 rule of storytelling is that we admire characters for trying more than for succeeding. The scene with Jinwoo shows that he has come far compared to where he was, but it also shows how far he has to go. But we've seen that journey. We know he can fight, and frankly, the fight doesn't really show us anything new. But this is Fern's first fight. Let me repeat that. This is the first time we've seen Fern fight. No, I don't count the fight against Call because all Fern did was throw up defensive barriers. We know she can cast magic, but we haven't actually seen her fight against a real opponent until this scene. So this scene shows us how much she has progressed with Frieren as her master. To me, Solo Leveling is a Michael Bay anime. It's pretty, fun to watch, and has lots of cool fight scenes, but it is not a great anime by any means. You watch a Michael Bay movie to have fun, not to feel things. Can you imagine if Transformers had won over No Country for Old Men? Think about the uproar that would have caused. Don't get me wrong, I love the first Transformers movie. I think it was a lot of fun. But it is nowhere near contention for Best Movie of the Year. But what about Frieren being better than Full Metal Alchemist? As much as I love Frieren, longtime viewers will know I've been hyping up this series for years now, long before the anime aired, there is something missing. The series isn't finished. We are, hopefully, very far from an ending. The series has a long way to go, and the series is always judged on its ending. Think about Game of Thrones or Attack on Titan or My Hero Academia and how much hate the endings of those respective shows brought. I mean, there was even some hate for Bleach, but that was only from the Rukia Ichigo shippers, and those people were wrong from the beginning. But as I stated earlier, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood has one of the best endings in anime, right up there with Code Geass and Steins Gate. Some of the best anime in history have endings so powerful, they still resonate with us. So, until Frieren finally concludes, I'm not sure I can call it the greatest anime of all time. But for now, it does hold the top spot on my anime list. How about you? Where do you rank Frieren? If you had a choice, what would be your top anime of all time? Leave a comment below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cute Stuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. There are several tiers to choose from. You can pick an anime or manga for me to do a video about, or you can join our monthly manga club. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Muffins, Marcus, Brett, Roxy, Alix, Borgi, Nazwan Conga, Robert Pye, Kazaris, Patrick, Tiz, Art, Richard, Sint, Boomy, Asura, Justin, Golden Walker, Ernesto, Midge, and Captain Hammer. You guys are awesome. I post anime or manga videos often, or you can click here to watch additional videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Musings by Danon.